Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another intriguing young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, Gertrude. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Michelle Smith. I'm a licensed professional counselor, mental health counselor, and licensed clinical mental health counselor located in Stillwater, Oklahoma, but serving clients all over the U.S. in New Hampshire, Florida, Oklahoma, and Oregon. I am passionate about supporting folks with their mental health needs, specifically working through things like trauma, grief, life challenges, all of the things that we go through as humans. And one of the reasons that I am doing what I'm doing is because I believe in the interconnectedness of us all as humans, and that as humans, we are much more alike than different. And so just sharing a little bit about myself, as I said, I am located in Stillwater. I am a mother of a 4-year-old. I have 4 wonderful pups, and I have my own therapy practice, virtual therapy practice, where I'm able to support people all over the country in rewiring their subconscious beliefs and really being able to change their life through therapy modalities. So just a little bit about my background. I got my bachelor's degree here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I have a bachelor's degree in human development and family services. And then I went on to get my master's in Palm Beach Atlantic University down in South Florida. So originally got licensed there, started kind of working in different settings, treatment settings, community mental health settings, all over with teens, with adults. And then moved back here to kind of ground my roots eventually and start my own practice, which I am incredibly grateful to be able to support people all over the country. When we went through the pandemic, there was a need for more mental health counselors in certain states, especially in the United States, people who were struggling more. And so I decided to get additional licensures so I could expand my perception and my view and my ability to support others. And I love what I'm able to do through virtual therapy. I'm able to connect with anybody all over the globe, just like I am right now. So just a little bit more about kind of my practice. So as I said, I'm a virtual therapist, and I provide a number of different services for folks in those states. And so things like individual therapy, couples therapy, group therapy. I am licensed and able to support specifically rewiring some of those subconscious beliefs. And I know that today we're going to talk a lot about grief. And for folks who go through grief and loss, it can be absolutely debilitating, that experience of somebody that you love was there, and then in a blink of an eye, everything has changed. And so with that, it can come with a lot of isolation, a lot of experiences of feeling alone, feeling that the world has kind of gone on and you're feeling so stuck in what you're experiencing. And so sometimes people need additional support, and there is absolutely no shame in that. And I have a number of different services to be able to support that, including being able to help people rewire subconscious networks. For example, sometimes we can develop negative cognitions and belief systems that get stuck in kind of this part of our brain, the 90% of our brain that is subconsciously wired and so automatic in our day to day lives. So when we go through, sometimes grief can be a trauma experience. And when we go through that, it can change our whole perception, our belief about the world, our belief about others, and even about ourselves. And so to be able to support somebody coming to therapy may look like identifying how has grief impacted the way that you're viewing your life, and how can we work to rewire those neural networks that have been impacted by your past experiences. We are so much what we've gone through, and the good news is that you can change that with the power of healing and be able to reclaim your joy. So different strategies like EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy, or clinical hypnosis, where I'm able to really help a client meet those needs, those goals that they're coming to therapy for, and be able to leave sessions feeling less emotionally distressed, feeling that not only that, but a new belief system is able to be installed. So that's a beautiful thing about some of the deeper therapeutic work that I'm able to provide to clients. Another thing that I'm very passionate about is providing group therapy, which is so important. Being able to know that you are not alone in what you've experienced. So many people, especially after loss, feel stuck, or maybe they feel like they're taking care of everyone else through grief, or maybe they don't feel like they have a soft place to land. And so group therapy, I provide a number of different group therapies, grief therapy included, but also trauma recovery, relationship loss, motherhood support, and others as well, being able to come together with people perhaps all over the country or all over the world and be able to say, wow, I can understand you. I feel that, and I understand your struggles. It can feel incredibly healing just to be heard and to be understood. So I feel very grateful to be able to provide those safe places for folks who need it. And that is something that's why I'm passionate about what I do. I went into therapy to be able to really support folks, to be able to be a compassionate, safe person to help them work through what they need. And I do not take what I do for granted in any way. Other things about myself, I am an avid yogi. I love to practice yoga. I've been practicing yoga and meditation as myself for over 10 years. I love to be in nature. I love to be with my 4 dogs. And I have a wonderful, joyful 4-year-old who is just so wonderful and the light of my life. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. And yes, I look forward to being able to support other people and connect through this podcast. There are a number of different services that I will be able to talk about today. And really, it is so important to be able to understand the neural psychology of our brains. Our brains are so hardwired. And sometimes I talk to clients about how they can really kind of be a ball and chain that we have to learn how to work with. We don't want our brain to control us. We want to be able to work with the brain. And unfortunately, the brain is really hardwired, not necessarily to give you that joy in life. It doesn't necessarily want you to be happy all the time. It actually is most focused on survival. And so if we think about the evolutionary psychology behind why the brain does what it does, it's actually such a fascinating thing to be able to protect ourselves from pain, from challenges, from different struggles that we've gone through. And so we have to learn how to work with our brain and actually accept what the brain does for us, but also be able to teach the brain that, hey, this discomfort that you're going through, it's not necessarily a threat. Your brain kind of identifies that as if a bear is chasing you right now, even though you may look around and you may see that we're perfectly safe. There is no bear chasing us. But when you've gone through deep trauma, when you've gone through immense grief and loss, when you've experienced things like that, the brain indicates those reminders, those people, places, and things as a danger. So I'm so grateful to be able to support people in being able to reclaim their joy and heal through therapy services. And I'm so glad to be here today, Gertrude.
Wonderful to have you, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
It sounds like you picked a very powerful vocation, a field that many, many, many people need. So, what led you to specialize in grief and trauma recovery?
So of course, I'm a human and I've gone through grief myself. I lost my father when I was young in my 20s. I had just gotten married and I was in, college getting my licensure. And I remember losing a parent can be one of the hardest experiences because you lose a part of your identity and you wonder, who am I? Right. So part of that was kind of the trajectory for me to continue and to be able to support others and meet them in the understanding of how hard that can be. Trauma is something that I think can be misunderstood. Trauma is not necessarily your experience or what you've gone through. You and I, Gertrude, we can experience the same exact thing right now, and one of us can leave with a trauma and the other cannot. It actually does not matter. It really, what matters is that response, right? So I am passionate about kind of challenging some of the stigma around mental health and as well as trauma. And that is one of the reasons why I love what I do, because I'm able to bring that awareness to folks who may have not ever recognized that they've ever experienced trauma through grief, right?
That's so true. So can you explain the difference between normal and complicated grief?
That's a great question. So I think that there's a big misconception that if you have a normal grief, you're going to quote unquote get over it eventually. Especially in America, we have a very little support for those who go through grief, including not a lot of bereavement leave or none at all, right? So the expectation is get back to it, get back to life, be normal again, right? And actually, there's no normal after loss. That grief becomes a part of you. And the goal is that eventually you are able to carry on the legacy of the lost and be able to hold that meaning and connect to the best parts of your loved one, if that is the circumstance with your grief, right? So a normal grief doesn't necessarily mean that you're not hit with grief waves regularly. It doesn't mean that even years after loss, you may have these experiences where one moment you're okay and then the next you're absolutely flooded with emotion, right? I think whenever you have complicated grief, a lot of the times, perhaps maybe you didn't have time to process that grief. Maybe you had a circumstance and you had to continue to go on and move forward. You didn't have the space to be able to really understand what this meant for you. Or perhaps you had back-to-back experiences where your brain was not able to comprehend those experiences. Or perhaps your loss was complicated. You had a loss with somebody that you didn't have a very good relationship with, or maybe there's things that were not said or what have you. So it's very unique, but I hope that answers your question a little bit.
It definitely does. Now, you offer EMDR and clinical hypnosis. Explain those two terms and how do these therapies support healing?
Yes, ma'am. So I love to be able to support people with deeper subconscious therapy. Unfortunately, talk therapy can only go so far whenever it comes to some of these deeper modalities. So EMDR therapy is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And essentially what we would be able to do, for example, if a client comes in and had a traumatic loss, we would be able to target that neural network by being able to go into that memory, identify the belief system or the negative cognition attached, and be able to actually bridge the gap in the brain between emotion logic by bilateral stimulation, which if you watched on a brain scan, it would be triggering back and forth, the right and the left brain. We do this through different things, eye movements, tapping, different modalities for different people. And then what the beauty of that is that a client is able to in with a distressing memory and say, Michelle, I'm at a 10 and this belief system is here. And then they can leave that session and say, I'm actually at a 0 and I believe something different. So that is the beauty of EMDR. Clinical hypnosis, I like to connect with EMDR as well, because sometimes there are themes and patterns that the subconscious is still struggling with after going through memory processing. So perhaps you're struggling with, for example, people pleasing or codependency or integrating parts and things like that. Hypnosis is an ability for a clinician to be able to support a client getting into a calm, relaxed, trance-like state. And with your treatment goals, I will be able to provide suggestion to your subconscious to be able to continue to rewire those neural networks. So it may be something like being able to continue to deepen those belief systems, strengthen the ego, change experiences, be able to ease anxiety or depression, what have you. And so I really like to pair these modalities together because they are very similar in that nature, if that makes sense.
So why is it important to tailor therapy to each individual?
That's a great question. Every person is very unique based
Yeah.
on what they've gone through, right? We are we are every experience that we've ever gone through and everything that we've ever made meaning out of. So no one person's story is the same, similar to why you do what you do, talking to people about their story. I'm passionate about understanding that story. And I have to understand also, what are your goals? Not everybody comes to therapy for the same goals either. So that is important too, that we're really meeting the client where they're at. We're understanding what their needs are. And we're making sure along the way that they're feeling supported, safe, and accepted in a therapeutic process, and that they feel that they're getting what they come to therapy for. It's a commitment, right? We don't want you to leave and feel like you're not getting your needs met. So absolutely, it's a very collaborative process in a therapeutic setting, Gertrude.
So what is one misconception that people have about therapy that you would love to correct?
Oh, that's a great question. So many things. So the first thing that comes to mind, Gertrude, is really that for some reason I will be telling you what to do as a therapist, and that's never my goal, right? You, one of the things that I truly believe is that you hold the wisdom to your own healing inside, and so my goal as your therapist is to help you connect back to that. A lot of the times trauma disconnects the mind and the intuition, and it's harder to be able to trust your own judgment because of these belief systems, right? So part of this work is to be able to reconnect the mind and body, to be able to trust again, to be able to connect to your internal wisdom that's always been there, but maybe buried a little bit based on past experiences, if that makes sense.
That is so very, very clear. Now, can you share a powerful moment where you witnessed a client's healing journey?
Absolutely. So I think every time, really every time that I have a session where we're doing deeper work or we're making connection through group therapy, I'm truly fascinated by the power of connection, the power of relation healing, the power of the mind, essentially. There have been times where I've been able to do minimal work with somebody, perhaps 1 or 2 clinical hypnosis sessions, and they've come back to me and said, Michelle, I'm waking up, I'm feeling different, I'm operating different. That trigger that I talked to you about is I'm responding in a different, I don't even recognize this response. And that's when we know, Gertrude, that belief systems have shifted. And so that is always magical. And I actually had a client tell me that earlier this week. And it gives me chills to be able to be a part of that and walk alongside that journey with somebody. And I don't take that privilege lightly at all.
Yeah, it must be something to witness that transformation.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So how has your own life shaped the way that you approach counseling?
That's a great question. I think we're learning so much more about how to meet people and provide a safe space for healing, right? So understanding my own challenges, going through my own pains and suffering, I think that it's made me recognize the importance of compassion, the importance of active listening, the importance of really understanding and listening to understand. We would be, so many times we're in our brain and we're thinking, how am I going to respond instead of what is the person saying? Right. So I try to practice that, not just in my own practice, but in my own life with, my friends and my family, and really consider where people are coming from. And that a lot of the times people's intentions are not negative. They are just operating from what they've been conditioned to experience and behave like.
Oh, that is so true. Wow, you have your work cut out for you. So what strategies do you recommend for someone in the early stages of grief?
That's a great question, Gertrude. So the first goal that we really want to do is start creating space for the grief waves that come up. I always talk to clients about being a detective, being curious about your experience without being judgmental or shame-based or critical. We tend to be our own worst critic, and a lot of the times that's based on our negative cognitions, right? So if we can kind of look for clues, be curious, are there patterns? How is your body responding? Where's the tension, right? Can you build and develop a little language? Can you journal a little bit about different circumstances where grief came up? That can be a great way to be able to create a more compassionate relationship with your grief journey.
Oh, wow. Now, how can family or friends best support someone who's going through a loss? I know it's always hard to know what to say, what to do, how to support somebody. What advice would you give?
That's a great question. I think a lot of the times people don't know what to do, so they may not do anything, right?
That's
Or they
true.
might just not want to make it worse by bringing it up. And the reality is that somebody going through loss, it's with them, it's a part of them. And so don't be fearful to say, I'm here, the door is open. I
Mm,
I can come by, and asking somebody what they need, especially in the deepest level of grief, sometimes is not the best, because sometimes we feel like a burden, or we feel like I don't want to request that because of whatever negative cognitions they may have. So
yeah.
just doing something, dropping off a meal, giving a call, sending a text. I'm thinking about you,
Mm,
I've sent paper plates to your house so you don't have to, do the dishes this week. Just something
yeah.
that you might need, right? It could be anything, but I'll let your dogs out, right? So it could be anything. But I think that acting and not necessarily asking what you need, thinking about what would you need in a time like that, and then just do it.
Wow. So, what role does community play in emotional healing?
Oh, it's such a big role, Gertrude. I mean, we are
Mm,
social beings, right? We are
yeah.
connected and interconnected in so many ways. Part of what creates psychological safety is being able to heal amongst others. So if
Yeah.
we don't feel connected, if we don't feel that others are there for us in some capacity, then we cannot go to deeper levels of healing, essentially.
Mhm.
So the community is such a big part, whether that's friends, whether that's therapy, whether that's groups, and different opportunities. But we must be able to grieve together. We must be able to feel safe and being able to be vulnerable and share vulnerability with someone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. It's interesting because growing up in Africa, our funerals were normally a week long when I was a child, and the whole family would come together. You never grieved alone.
Yes.
You would be together for a week and you would cry, you would dance, you would sing. By the time you left that funeral venue, you've emptied out all of that emotion, but you're not doing it alone.
Yes.
And I remember how impactful that was. And now living out of Africa in the Western world, I find that people are struggling on their own. They don't
Absolutely.
have that support.
And part of that is because of the stigma of sharing emotion, right?
Yes.
There's such a stigma of pull up by your bootstraps, get back to it, right? Keep working, keep achieving, keep moving.
Mhm.
But we must recognize the impact of pain. And if we don't do that, a lot of the times suffering can
Yeah.
come because we push it down, right? So that's so wonderful. I wish that everybody could give that space to their grief.
But I suppose you can create that sense of community by joining groups, either online or in person, where you can be with other people who've experienced something similar. I think that might be an alternative as well.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's easier to connect and be vulnerable in a group setting where there are others who have been through what you've gone through, and maybe not so close knit. Sometimes it's hard to do that in families, especially
Mm.
because not everybody is able to grieve in an intentional way. A lot of the times grief looks like avoidance. You wonder why when somebody passes away, we're so focused on the little things: who gets the car in the driveway, who gets this thing.
Mm.
It's so much easier to focus on that because that feels more in control than the fact that
Yes.
I lost somebody that I love and I will never see them again. So I
Mm.
focus on what feels more logistical or logical. And a lot of the times that's just simply avoidance, Gertrude.
Mm. So, how do you maintain your own wellness while supporting others? It's not an easy job.
That's a great question. You're absolutely
Mhm.
right. It is a pivotal part of what I do to be able to take care of myself. And I'm so grateful to have the support network that I do with my family and the support that I have with my own therapy. Of course, I find that that is actually part of my job, is to make sure that I am also practicing what I preach and
Yes.
rewiring my brain and being the best version of myself that I can be. So absolutely carving out time for that, but also mindfulness, movement, yoga, and meditation has been such a pivotal part of my life, especially for the past 10 plus years. And I create time for that in my schedule to make sure that I'm not missing. Those are non-negotiables for me. Those are just as
Mhm.
important as any appointment or schedule that I have, is that I show up for myself and I take the time to heal, to feel, because of course that stuff can get stuck on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it can. So, what are the warning signs that people should look out for that grief is becoming more complex?
That's a great question. So, if you find that your functioning is impaired, that you feel like you're not being able to experience life in a way that you want, perhaps with relationships or work or different areas of your life with family, if you feel that maybe your emotions are blunted or stunted in some way, that not only are you not able to experience negative emotions, but even positive emotions, things that you used to really enjoy, they feel maybe very mundane or very numb over not just a short period of time, but a longer period of time, right? Losing
Mhm.
hopefulness in the future, feeling that what's the point, right? What's the point of moving forward? Things
Yeah.
like that. Those can be some of those early warning signs that maybe somebody could utilize some extra support.
Yes, that's so good. Now, let's finish our interview with two questions.
Okay.
In the first one, I'm going to teleport you into the past,
Okay.
to that young woman who went into the field of psychology, decided she would make a difference in the world by supporting other people. Just in case there's a young woman thinking about going into your field who's listening to this podcast, or an older woman who wants to start a new career, what three nuggets of wisdom could you give based on what life has taught you up until this point?
Oh, that's a great question. So I would say the first one is, don't give up. Keep showing up for yourself every day, because a lot of the times progress is very gradual and you see yourself in the mirror every day. But when you look backwards, you're able to see how much you've really grown. So even if you can't see it, growth is happening every single day. I think the second thing is, listen to your heart, listen to what you're passionate about, what brings you joy, what makes you feel that you are connected and you're doing something that's making a deeper impact. Follow that, trust that, don't give up on that, because that is your passion. That's why you're here. You have a meaning, you have a purpose, and it's important to find that for yourself. And I think the third thing is that a lot of the times we worry about so many little things in life. We worry about, how is this going to happen? Or what if this happens? Or we really just worry about so many things. And the reality is that when you look backwards, a lot of the times you're able to see why something led you to something else. And so just being able to really focus on what's the most meaningful for you in life, and recognize that a lot of the times the other things will work itself out, even if in the moment you can't necessarily see that. So keep going. I always talk to my clients about, let it play out. Let it play out and watch what happens, and know that you are incredibly valuable and you have so much to give to the world, even if at times you can't believe that yourself.
That is really good advice. Yeah, they say that depression comes from when you focus on things that have happened in the past that you can't go back and change. Stress and anxiety is caused by the things that may or may not happen in the future that we focus on as well.
Yes.
Absolutely wonderful. So the last question, like I said, is now taking you into the future.
Okay.
And we are going to go and sit with a 90-year-old you.
Ooh.
And sitting in her rocking chair, maybe she's on a dance floor surrounded by her children, her grandchildren. If you can go and have a conversation with the wise you, this older woman who has led you up until that point,
Yeah.
what will you say to her when you finally meet her? Now, I'll tell you the reason why I like to ask this question. A lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in us.
Yes.
Look outside of ourselves for answers, for solutions, but we forget just to tap into our inner wisdom and go within. And I know your wise woman has prompted you, has told you to go left, go right, do this, do that, and you've listened, and you've empowered so many people through your work. So what are you going to say to your wise woman when you finally meet her?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I will say thank you. Thank you for guiding me. Thank you for allowing me to trust. Thank you for all of the work that you did to get me to this point. Thank you for not giving up. You know, I would be curious about, what else she's done. Has she been able to continue to grow and continue to learn new things? And the treatment world and mental health is changing so much every day. We're learning so much more about the brain. So I would love to pick her brain and say, what have you learned about humans? What do you think now? Have your belief system shifted? I'm sure that they have. But really just thank you. Thank you for the wisdom that you've brought me. Thank you for allowing me to stay on the path of what's meaningful, and just straight gratitude, Gertrude.
Absolutely beautiful. Now, Michelle, how can people get in touch with you? Where can people find you? I do have your website at the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Is there any other way that people can engage and work with you?
So I am on social media. You can find me on Instagram, Michelle Smith LMHC. I also am on Facebook as well. Absolutely. This is my website. You can sign up for services through my website. You can also schedule a free consultation call with me if you're unsure kind of where you want to go therapy wise. We can sit down and we can talk about that. You can also fill out paperwork online, and you can also email me at msmith@michellesmithlmhc.com, and we can connect more there.
Sounds good. Michelle, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story and your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Gertrude. This has been wonderful.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share our stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to empower you with tools to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are someone who's looking for counseling, who's going through grief, or you know someone who is, please reach out to Michelle. Don't try and do it alone. There are experts out there that can make the journey so much easier for you as well. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Michelle, don't go away.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.